Hey everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group, eXp Realty. What are we talking about today?
Well, a week or so ago, we shot a video about how to buy a house when you also need to sell your house. So today we're going to do a deeper dive into that.
Yeah, we have a lot of people asking that question, and we actually, so we'll dive deep. So here we go.
Okay, here it is. How to
Wait,
buy.
I have to say something. So, we are going to do this with a presentation. And you are going to see the difference in, we're gonna let you guess who made this presentation versus who makes the other presentation.
Not Tatiana's, hers are great.
Yeah, Tatiana's
but
are.
between mine and Sean's.
Yes, so we're gonna see that in this presentation, it's a little bit cleaner, prettier, easier on the eye, kind of like you. I'm dirty, like, anyway. Okay.
Well, we just gave it away. I did it, and I didn't know what I was doing. So.
All right, so we're going to dive into this. So we had a question that came up, and they were asking very specifically, like, what are the steps, what are the processes on how to buy a house and sell a house at the same time? So we're going to deep dive into that.
What's important? How to coordinate all of it? It can get a lot more muddled than you might think.
It does. There's so many overlapping considerations. And then we're going to have a second video, which is going to be paired with this one, which I did the presentation for, and which is how to determine how much money you're going to have from the sale of your the sale of your house.
I love that you did that.
Yeah, because we have to, anyway. All right, so let's dive into this. Okay, so you're a buyer, you own a house. So let's just give a real world scenario.
Okay, do it.
So you bought a condo, let's say 2 years ago, and
I'm gonna get hitched.
You're gonna get hitched. So you have outgrown this condo. So now, what are you gonna do? You have a condo that you have to sell. You have to use the money from the sale of the condo to buy the house. So how does this work and how do you do it? So that's what we're gonna dive into.
Yep. Okay, let's do it. So, do I click here?
I think so.
Click. Okay.
Okay, so we're doing this on Canva. This is the first time we use presentation mode.
I love Canva, by the way. Plug.
Plug.
Okay, so these are the different paths you can take to accomplish this, right?
All right.
So one path is you buy before you sell.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Did I take your thunder?
No, you didn't take my thunder. I put my glasses back on, so you can.
Okay. I was gonna let him read the big ones, and I would read the small ones. Okay. So in this scenario, we're not going to dive into this one too deeply
you
because
can do this as you're talking. You can highlight right here.
Oh,
yeah,
fancy. Okay, this is something when money is no issue, you have no time constraints, and it's a one-time move, right? This means, hey, you know what? I don't need the money from the sale of my house to buy the next one. Not a big deal. Not worried about any of it.
Yeah,
right?
So I'll go ahead and buy the house. Time is no issue because I have time to move from this house to the other one before I'm selling my current house.
Yeah.
And it's a single move because once you close on the one you're buying, you can just move right in. So
while we should all be so lucky, very few of us are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so that is option number one. That's not what we're going to deep dive into. Okay. Option number two is sell before you buy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So in this situation, how would this work? Okay.
So you do need the money from the sale of your current property.
Yeah. For the down payment for the house.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
But you have fewer time considerations.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna sell your house, so move out of it, right? Into this kind of limbo area.
Yeah.
I don't like to say limbo or purgatory. I like to say a bridge home.
Yes, it's
Sometimes
a bridge
this can be a family member's home, hopefully you all really like each other. Sometimes you can rent an apartment, rent an Airbnb, all kinds of different scenarios.
And
but
this
that's
could
what you would do.
This could be for a week, it could be for 6 months. So we've had clients that were doing a new build. We put their house on the market, we sold it very quickly. They were moving into a bigger house. So for them, they just put everything into pods.
Yep.
So they only had to move it into storage once because the pod came and picked it up.
Yeah.
They went and lived in an apartment with the basics.
Furnished.
Yep, furnished apartment with the basics. And then when the house was ready, they moved everything there and went in. So it's usually for you if you don't have kids in school and you have flexibility with everything.
Yeah, the pets. I mean, there are a lot of those considerations. We're also not going to go much deeper into that one.
That's true.
You do have the multiple moves and all that.
Yeah.
But who we're really talking to are those who need to buy and sell simultaneously.
How do you work that? How do you work selling your home, getting the cash, and then buying a home?
Right.
without having to move out and so
Right.
on. So that's what we're gonna dive into.
So this is where you need the money from the sale of your house. Just
Yep.
to highlight these, you have the maximum time constraints, right? It's like you're kind of down to the wire, to the
Yeah.
line on the sale of your house, the taking going to settlement and taking ownership and residence in your new house. It is one single move, which is amazing, but coordinating all of this stuff, especially when you have the kids, if you have the pets, and you know, you still have a work life presumably going on, it can be really, really tricky.
It's a really, really good point. And when you talk about the time constraints, for example, if you're buying a house, once you're under contract on that house and have a settlement date set, then you've got to get your house sold and get the funds in time. So you really have to kind of be able, you do have real hard time constraints that can be risky.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next slide, because we've got a whole lot to really talk about. Some of it you've probably thought about, and some things maybe you haven't considered that really need to be considered and discussed in detail with your friendly neighborhood realtors before you even embark on this. So preparation is key here, right?
So let's go through the steps, the selling and buying steps, and then we can get into the considerations on how that all works together.
So when you're selling your current house, right, the steps are?
Step one is you've got to choose your realtor. You've got to sign a listing agreement, which means you're establishing the price, you're establishing when you're going to go on the market, you're establishing basically all the terms of the listing and how that's going to work. So you've got to establish that listing agreement. And then you've got to have Kelly come in, because she is going to go through the house and
it's basically going to be a staging consultation. I'm going to advise, not boss you around and tell you what to do, but hey, Sean's going to be able to say, in its current state, we could effectively list it and expect to sell it for this price. I come in and I say, okay, I'm going to give you all of this information, item by item, through every room to tell you what to do to sell it for the top
price.
Dollar that
what
Sean will give you.
What we would call an top market value.
That's exactly right. And it's not going to, it will be a lot of detail, right? If you're like me and you want to have a checklist and I'm going to do it perfectly and all that, it'll be outlined for you beautifully. But it's not like you have to do all these things. Just understand, the more of these boxes you check off, the ching, 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 the higher you can expect to sell your house.
And then just be realistic about what you're willing to do and what you expect as far as price is concerned.
True that.
So once the house is prepared, then we have to get the house on the market, so it's actively for sale. And then we have to coordinate showings. Now, how do you coordinate showings when you're getting ready to move out? So this is like, so what do you do? So we walk through this with you. We've done this ourselves personally. Use pods, get the house down to the bare minimums, get everything moved into the pod and have it all stored. So we have the details.
There's so many different ways of doing it, and we've done it, like Sean said, so many times with 4 kids, like 5 pets, 3 cars, and partridge in a pear tree. Okay, after all the showings, it's going to go under contract. Woohoo!
Once you're under contract, typically it's going to, then we have to start dealing with inspections and the appraiser. So the risks are not over yet. So you need to make sure that if you're not listing with us, you need to make sure that your agent is a good negotiator, so that when the inspection reports come back, if they get an inspection, when the appraisal comes back, they know how to work with the appraiser and so on and so forth.
Now that working and negotiating and discussing and all that, that's our job. So your only job in that was to make sure you chose good realtors. The other thing that you need to do is it's a simple matter of making sure you provide access to either the home inspector and or the appraiser, whatever the contingencies are in the contract. You just need to let them come in. Right? That's really all you need to do on that. So those are the big considerations. Then you go to settlement and you have your money.
And one settlement typically is going to be a 30-day settlement. Sometimes it's a few days longer, up to 40, 45 days. Sometimes it's a lower, like a condo or a lower price property, you might get cash, so it might be a 10 to 15-day settlement. And then once settlement has happened, the new buyer now owes your home. So as we go into considerations, we're going to explain to you, what do you do now? What if you're not ready to move out of the house? So we're going to explain that. So I know that question's probably in your mind.
Because you have simultaneous things going on, right? So we're going to go through buying your new home now, which for you, yay, it's happening at the same time.
We have people doing this right now.
We do.
It's working out beautifully so far. Oh, I should not have said that. Knock on wood.
Oh my gosh.
It's on video too.
You know what? You guys, if it goes to Hades, It's his fault.
I'll
rescue you.
I will edit this and cut this out if it happens.
Okay. So when you're buying your house, here are the steps, right?
Yep.
You're going to first get pre-approved, and we have buying and selling step-by-steps that are way
it
more
goes a
detailed
lot
than
more
this.
detailed,
This is just
so-
very general. Okay, so getting pre-approved is very important just because you need to know where you're shopping, right?
Yep.
Like I need to know how much money I have in my wallet so that I know if I'm going to Walmart or if I'm going to Lord & Taylor, which I'm so sad they shut down.
Yeah, especially if you have, because you have such a strong time constraint, you don't want to waste time looking at properties that you can't afford.
You don't want to wait.
Or you don't want to waste time looking at properties that are under what you're looking for when you realize you actually could afford more. So it's like you really
can
need
you
to know.
imagine the kick in the pants your other people would give you? It's like, why did we do that? This house, we could have had this house
Yep.
and it sold last week.
Yep. So get your pre-approval first so you know your budget, okay?
True that. Okay. Then you're going to be viewing these properties.
Yep.
That goes
And-
with, I mean, that's obvious.
Yep. And we're going to talk about some details on the viewing of the properties here in just a couple minutes.
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you found the one.
I think so. Criteria.
I don't know what I wrote. We're going to find out. It's
We
going to be
did
a
this.
surprise for all of them. Okay, so then you're going to submit an offer on the one and get it, woohoo, under contract.
Yep.
Okay, then you're
So when it's under contract, again, we have to work the timing out for the contract on that one versus the contract on the one you're selling. Meeting the contingency. So you have to meet your contingencies once you're under contract because that's how you get through the different layers and you get to the point of the actual purchase.
So contingencies are things such as, like we talked about in selling, your home inspection, right? Where when you're selling your house, you just open it up. When you're buying the next house, you can attend that home inspection.
That's right.
The appraisal, sorry, nobody's allowed to be at the appraisal except the appraiser.
Yep. Finance contingency.
Finance, that's you're working with your lender and
Yep.
all of that. When you're selling the house, that's the buyer, they're working with their lender, you don't have to do that. But on the buy side, you're doing that.
Yep.
And then we get through all that, everything's passed, we've negotiated for you beautifully throughout,
Yep.
and you're at settlement, right?
That's
so
right.
settlement table, woohoo, that's the end goal,
Yep.
aside from moving into your beautiful new place.
So let's do a visual real quick before we get into the considerations.
Okay.
You put your house on the market that you're going to sell. You sell the house. Or it goes under contract and then it sells. You have a 30-day window. Okay. This has to occur before you can close. You be the buyer hand. So your right hand's the buyer. The settlement.
This is my right hand.
That's your settlement. So this hand, the settlement on the sales side, has to occur on the same day or probably a day or two before the buy side. You can't buy it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice
All right.
though. Okay.
Okay. All right. So here's settlement for buying the house. Here's settlement for selling the house. You cannot buy the house until you've got the money for
You gotta
selling.
have this money.
Yeah,
And
so-
let me grab all that money. I'm gonna get this money.
So this has to occur with your right hand. Here, get this hand.
I was so
That's your
good
right
in
Okay.
in preschool.
Okay. So you're under contract with your house you're selling. You settle. Then
get
you're
the
gonna
money.
then you're gonna settle on the buy side. Okay, because you get the money. So
Right.
now you can buy. Okay. So the key here is making this contract occur in a
I
way
have it in
so that they can overlap. Okay. Now, what if you
Wait,
sell?
this is too confusing.
No, it's not. Hey, watch this. So, what if you end up selling here and you just get under contract here? How are we going to work that out? You've got a huge gap here, but you only want to move once. How are we going to do that? We're going to show you how to do that. So this is our analogy, and we're going to go into some considerations. So we might use this a lot.
I hope we use it like all the time.
That's going to be our new thing.
Woo!
Graphics, visual. Okay, so considerations as you're going to do this.
Okay,
First thing and the most important thing is
your team.
a team.
Starting with the realtor, we go into this in great detail, all the reasons why. It's not just because we are like so self-involved and
Yeah.
everything.
But
I'm just kidding.
very important.
It is so important because, like I said, remember my beautiful sports analogy, we are the quarterback of this operation, right?
If you don't know what she's talking about, go back and watch that video. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
I got
you
so
did.
sporty.
But it's important to understand your realtor on the buy side and the realtor on the sale side. They may not be the same person. If they are, that's good. But if they're not, those two have to coordinate and communicate
Right.
in a lot of detail with each other.
One of these that we're dealing with right now, usually we represent both when we're licensed in the same areas, but we're not licensed in West Virginia. So we're representing the sell side on one, and we have another agent, or they have another agent on their buy side in West Virginia. This is also key. Make sure your agents, even if they're not the same ones, they play really well together, that they're really open communicators and all of that. So just your agents are so important.
Yep.
Right?
And then your inspectors and your lenders and stuff, but the agents are the key. They're the keystone of this whole thing because they're coordinating and trying to make sure that everything works out timing wise.
Facts. Okay, sales price.
Okay,
That's
so
huge.
The huge part of the sales price, this goes on both sides. Number one, on the sales side, if you have a make me move price where it's what, you know, you're not going to move unless you hit this certain price, then it's going to change the strategy versus you being flexible and being willing to price the home appropriately so that we can generate the traffic and so that we can control the timing.
Okay, go
of the
into
settlement.
what do you mean by a make me move price?
So a make me move
Explain
price
that.
is, I'll give you an example. I had a client many years ago when we first started real estate, and his house was probably worth about 1.35. He didn't want to move, but the market was going crazy. He was like, I'm going to try this. He wanted to go on at 1.65 and would not go below it.
And this was when everybody bought dirt for like $1 million.
Yes. So he had the 1.35 million. I actually shot a video on this case study. It was worth 1.35 million. We put it on for 1.65 million. He understood completely that it probably wasn't going to sell. We weren't going to have much traffic. We would have to do price reductions, which he wasn't willing to do. So it was just a test. Really.
It was a wood sell. Like,
yeah, it was a wood sell. Make me move. And so he got one showing, and the house didn't sell. So if that is your position, it's going to be very difficult to make the timing on this work.
In that case, we have all the time in the world.
Yes, we do. That's
you
true.
don't
It's going to be much easier.
This is where it's like, sure, honey, we'll sell the house and move, only if we get it for this price. Like that's it's not realistic. Okay.
Sales price is also important on the buy side because if you're looking for a deal, if you're looking to undercut, if you're looking to not, you know, you're not going to spend more than blank, which is fine, but on a house that's worth blank. Like if you want an $800,000 house for $750.
What if you're that wonderful, fun personality where you want to have like the wood sell price when you're selling your house?
I'm gonna sell it high,
but then you want to get the deal on the buy side. Like in that instance, we're gonna become best friends for like life because we're just gonna hang out, do some showings. It's never gonna happen.
Yes, that brings up a good point. So the market that you buy in or sell in is the market that you buy in. So if you're selling high, you've got to be prepared to buy high. The market that you and same goes the same way. So if you have to sell low, then you're going to be able to buy low in a buyer's market. So
and I do appreciate. Let me interrupt you again. I'm going to keep doing this probably, but when you're in this, you have a unique situation where you're out and you're viewing properties often. So I encourage you when you go into your house that's on the market, pretend it's another showing.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing that, wow, I really need to bleach my baseboards, or I really need to do these extra things that were on Kelly's checklist, and maybe it really does matter.
You look at your house as a product.
Other perspective as a product, my friend.
You have to become very objective in both properties. Okay, so sales price on the sales side and the buy side.
Yeah.
Closing timeline. So with our analogy, hands up. Okay. This is the sale closing. This is the buyer closing.
Yeah.
What if we get under contract very quickly on the sale? Or let's say we get under contract around the same, like right here. But this has a 10-day closing and that has a 30-day.
I don't think this is effective.
We have a 30-day closing over here. So we've got a gap.
Yeah, what do you do? Where are you going to stay?
So what do you do? So we negotiate a post-settlement occupancy. So these are different strategies that we can use. So as
That's
a seller,
what that PSO likely is right here, a post-settlement occupancy.
Yeah, so we're going to probably get you a PSO. For example, the clients that we have right now, they are under contract on the house they're buying. They've got the house that they're selling. They're closing on the selling house on December 14th. They're closing on the purchase house December 18th. But we've got them a post-settlement occupancy until January 14th. So they've got about 3 weeks to move out, and all the transactions will be done.
So it's basically like you're renting the house you just sold from the new buyers for an amount of time that we've negotiated for you, which it can only be up to 60 days. If there's a lender involved, it can be longer than that. And we've negotiated.
Only 60 days if there's a lender involved. It can be longer if it's a cash transaction.
That's what. Did I not finish, or did I say it done?
You tailed off to where it didn't.
Oh, I think I do that more often than I thought. Thank you for finishing that.
You're welcome. It's on video.
Oh,
Okay, anyway.
what I meant was.
What you meant was.
Okay, so, and we were able to negotiate that for them free
Yeah.
of charge.
Yeah.
So they're renting it for nothing.
So depending on the market, you could get your rent for free. If
Yes.
it's a buyer's market, you might have to, or anyway,
Okay.
you may have to pay a little
So
bit.
that
around
we can give you breathing room,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Which is really, really a huge, wonderful thing in
Yep.
this scenario.
Yep.
You need to know that contingencies and conditions are likely.
Yep, and that they are going to be completed in the right timeline. So
Yeah.
to be more flexible.
I'd really like to make a recommendation on that on your sell side. You really don't want these contingencies, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to know that when you're under contract, it's going to go to settlement. You're literally banking on this. So I really, really would like to encourage sellers to go ahead and, I'm sorry, get a home inspection
Handle
yourself. Handle the big things that you know are here. Feel amazing about it, and even be with, like, let's say you get something, you get an offer, and it's let's say you get a couple offers in, right? One is a much higher price, you love the price, but they have a home inspection. The other one's a lower price with no home inspection. Well, we can say, hey, guess what? Our seller got their own home inspection. Here's the date. If we provide this to you, can you please give us the offer
Without
an inspection
Yep.
contingency, right? So that's huge. That really gets rid of that. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yep.
If there's an appraisal contingency and you've topped out the market, we're going to tell you, hey, it may not appraise. You kind of need to be ready for that.
Maybe ready to maybe negotiate if you have to. Yeah.
Be be willing to say, you know what, we'll eat it. You know,
Yeah.
if it's 5,000 under, we're willing to eat it to do
Yep.
these things. So these are even more important.
Yeah. So
And significant
they're
for you
very-
to consider when you are also buying a house because of the timelines. That's what
Yep,
I'm gonna say.
yep. And because the last thing you want to do is be 20 days into a sales process when you're supposed to close at day 30 and then buy a house at day
Yeah.
40 and then have to start over because
Yeah.
the buyer voided because there's no room.
And some things that you can't choose. Are you in an HOA? Are you in a condo association?
Get your docs ordered immediately. Yes.
We always order the docs at the time of the listing agreement,
Yep.
right? So that we have it as soon as it's goes under contract. I mean, unless it goes under incoming soon like it did this time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, get the docs there immediately because they have 3 days to review those.
Yes.
Also, you can get a title search done. They're going to still do their own title search, but you can have a preliminary title search done just in case
Yeah.
there's something that comes up on the title search that's going to take time to handle.
That you
So
can
there's
get ahead of.
there's preemptive things that you can do to get ahead of that could cause a delay in time in the contract
Yep,
process.
and we can
So,
tell you what those are.
That's right.
On your buy side, be willing to consider.
A pre-offer home inspection.
Yes.
Do a POFA so that you're prepared. You just want to be prepared before you
Yeah.
go into the transaction. Do everything you can to be prepared
On both
for
sides.
any contingency on both sides.
The POFA is huge. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
so
amazing.
that you have control
Yeah.
over the process as much as possible.
Communication. I pride myself on being the ultimate, most glorious. I was going to say effective communicator.
You just ran out of
I was going to say
communication.
effective communicator, but I think I get a little long-winded sometimes, and they kind of like zone out. So I can work on that. Communication is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Again, your realtors are big on this. For me, I'm communicating with your lender specifically because I'm a licensed lender, so I'm going to speak that language.
The lender's on
with them.
both sides.
Both
For
sides.
the buyer that's buying your house, she's going to make sure that they are qualified, that they are on track and doing what they're doing, and for you on your side when
Yes.
you're buying the house.
For you, right? Not like I'm talking to your lender behind your back, but
Yeah.
for you, you can come to me if you have any questions, and it's like I'm not really sure what they mean,
That's
what they're
a-
asking for.
That's a really good point because we've had many transactions where the lenders, especially if it's a big bank, they may have a license in Virginia, but they might be down in Roanoke, or they may be in Virginia Beach or something. Northern Virginia market is very unique, so they
Right.
don't understand our contracts. So they, out of area lenders, a lot of times don't, and some in area lenders with big banks don't really concern
Some of them.
themselves with deadlines and contingencies.
Yeah, so
So
let's
Kelly's
say,
got to push them and make sure that they're meeting the deadlines and
and in a loving and wonderful, hey, I'm helping out kind of way. So
Yep.
there's never any contention
Yep.
with anything, but just staying on top of it. Sean's going to be constantly in contact with agents on the other side, making sure any negotiations that come up are met in your favor, you know, that everything is going well there. I'm in communication with the title company. Hey, how are we on ordering the title? How's the title search coming? We build these friendships and relationships with everybody on your behalf, so that everything happens in a beautiful and wonderful way. Also, the home inspector, Sean, attends home inspections for you if you don't want to attend, or with you. Usually you want to come at the end because it can be hours long. So you've got both of us in here and really diving in with every team member that you've put in place.
And you've got to be prepared to stay in communication, and it has to be quick communication because of the timelines. We have to make sure there's no gaps in between. And speaking of quick, you have to be able to make quick decisions and be willing to make quick decisions. So when you're buying the house, if you've got, I've got criteria flexibility right below that, but if you have this unicorn house that you're looking for, you got to be really, really like, you've got to be flexible. You've got to know what your have-tos and what are must-haves and what your deal breakers are. But then outside of that, you've got to have some flexibility, because you've got to be able to have that flexibility. That's what it is.
That's very true. And a note on that is most often you and the buyers or sellers, right? The people on the other side, you all have jobs or lives outside of this. You all have responsibilities, whether it's kids or running people around or whatever it is, right? The day effectively ends on a real estate contract at 9 p.m.
in Virginia.
Right? When we're writing contracts, oftentimes we're not writing them until you get home from work in the evening. And then if you want to have dinner and then sit down and go through it. So it takes a significant amount of time to get the terms straight. Then it takes a significant amount of time to draw the contract up. Then we've got to go through it all with you, and then you've got to sign. And then it takes some time to get it to the other agent, who's also dealing with their buyer or seller, who has all their life going on and everything else. So the dates and everything can get weird if it's like, oh, well, we went out to dinner, we'll call you later, like at 7, that can be a big deal, right?
Or a contingency. If there's something that is expiring at 9 p.m. and you're like, I'll get back to you after dinner, and we missed the deadline, that this can be very costly on both sides of the transaction. So you're absolutely right.
Right.
So
and the other, it's like, oh, well, we're traveling. Not a great time to be on an airplane for several hours when you're in the middle of 2 contracts going on and other agents need decisions for you, or their buyer or seller's gonna back out, or there's so many things that can happen that you just really need to be available. Texting is fine. We do this pretty much 24/7. It's fine, but you just have to be able to
give a decision.
Give a decision.
Quick decisions.
Reply.
And that criteria flexibility, so you can move quickly with everything.
Stress management.
Yes. It's going to be stressful. It has the potential. It can be chaotic. It can be confusing.
If you can
especially if you don't know how the whole picture comes together. Luckily, we've done this so many times that we can see how the pieces fall into place, and we usually get ahead of them. So usually perceived stresses are not real stresses. They're just like anxieties. It's
anxiety, and we've found that a lot of stress comes when you feel in the dark, when you feel out of control. So we really try to hit hard on, look, we're in control, we've got this, we're gonna give you as much information as you want, but also too much information can be a little overwhelming and even more confusing. So if there's something, hey guys, can you tell me this again? You know, fine, we'll say it as many times as you want. Can you go, like, look, too much, just tell me what.
Just tell me when I have to show up the sign. Give me the
Cliff's Notes, right? You know, it's like we will help you manage the stress. We will keep you calm. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And it's gonna be beautiful. I mean, it's a fun thing. And after you've done this, and everybody, if you know of someone who says, "Oh yeah, we just bought and sold our house," you need to like really give them a round of applause because they've done something really great.
So it can be done. We've done it successfully many times. And it's just, you have to be prepared, and you have to work the steps with us, and we'll walk you through each of it. So as you're looking at this, there's so many details that are not in here, just when you dive into the minutia of it all. But it's a process that can be done. It can be done very successfully, And so it's not something for you to worry about initially, but you just need to understand what big picture, what you're going to be looking at as we go into it.
I think that the takeaways, if I had to summarize it into 3 things that are required to do this successfully and like just come out of it really proud and happy, are willingness to listen, the quick decisions, and be chill.
Flexibility
Stay
and
calm.
chill. Yep.
It's gonna be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Did I say the right 3 things, do you think? I forgot what they were. Just kidding.
What's that gonna
Paying
say?
attention.
Yeah, paying attention. Excellent communication.
Oh, also, your realtor. Super important.
Yeah, don't forget your. Oh, yeah. Number 1 is the realtor. Then you have 4 things you have to do. Okay. Anyway, everybody.
It just stalled out again.
Great. You shouldn't have said that about communication. You just put it on yourself. Okay.
Shoot.
Have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to message us, reach out to us, call
Especially
us,
me,
text
I'll
us.
communicate with you all day.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's dive into this week's numbers, and it's going to be a very interesting look at the stats for this week. You're going to see that there's a pretty dramatic change that occurred, and you're going to start seeing a trend that's happening that's actually kind of surprising considering that we're in the holidays. So let's go ahead and dive into the numbers and look at what's going on. All right, so as always, our orange line is our buyer activity line. Our blue line is our inventory. So you can see that buyer activity had been going down, and with the interest rates dropping a little bit over the past week or so, I think that's what stimulated some of this increase in buyer activity. But what's surprising about that is that increase came even in lieu of 2 weeks of dropping inventory. So inventory has reduced significantly over the last couple weeks. Buyer activity has increased, and so if you kind of look at the trend of buyer activity, let me get my marker here. If you kind of look at the trend of buyer activity, it's a slightly upward trajectory. If you look at the trend of inventory, it's in a downward trajectory. So what that's doing is, as we come over here into the buyer's market versus the seller's market, you can see the general trajectory is an upward movement. We're in the fall, we're in the holiday season, so we actually expect to see this more of a flat line or downward trajectory just for the next month or so. So it's kind of going against what the trends are, which right now is significant because as we go into January and into the spring, we expect that market activity to increase quite a bit. We'll see more inventory, but we'll see a lot more buyer demand. So if we're already trending in a seller's market trajectory, it's probably safe to assume that once we get into January 2024 and start moving into the spring, that we'll start seeing that strength of the seller's market start to appear again. So from a buyer's perspective, this is a good window for you. There's still competition, but it's still a chance to get in, especially with the interest rates coming down. It's kind of a unique window because you've got a little bit of a drop in the interest rates, and you can get in before that high buyer demand hits. So it's a good window for you to get out there and really start looking. I know it's kind of inconvenient with the holidays, but it's a good time. Sellers, inventory is extremely low. You may be waiting until spring to sell. There's nothing really wrong with that. You will have more buyers in the market at that time, but you're also going to have more inventory in the market at that time. So it's going to be more highly competitive. So just be ready for that. And if you're considering selling in the spring, let's have a conversation and let's give it some consideration about possibly going on the market before spring, so that you take advantage of the increased buyer demand with less other houses on the market as competition. All right, if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to let us know, reach out to us, message us, call us, text us, and we will see you on next week's video. Have a great week out there and stay warm. All right, here we are with Tatiana with this week's Mortgage Minute, and it's been a little while. It's with the Thanksgiving holiday and everything, so catch us up, tell us what's been going on.
Hey guys, hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. It was
Yes.
a long weekend for us. We didn't work for 2.5 days. It was like unheard of.
What do we do with ourselves?
But it was very nice. And yeah, so this week was great for interest rate. The rate actually went down for 5th consecutive week. So let me show you the slides right here. Can you see?
Yep.
Oh, isn't that so pretty?
Nice.
Yeah, looks very cute.
Yeah.
7.1% on conforming. We have 6.9 on FHA. So yeah, it's great. Actually, the rates are in their lowest since early September.
Okay.
And positive economic data is commentary for Federal Reserve's officially hinting at forthcoming rate cuts. So that's always good. Another good news is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA and VA, I'm sure, is gonna join them, increased the loan limits for 2024. They do it every year. If you remember last time, I believe we spoke about rate limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, loan limits before in our area, and they different in different areas, of course, but overall, conforming loan limit was a 726 200. Now they raised it to 766 550.
Wow.
And for high balance, they raised it from 1,89,300 to 1,149,825. So it
Ooh.
went up. It means that more people could get into a mortgage and a higher loan amounts without putting 25% down. I mean, 20% down and going jumbo financing. So that's also positive data. I want to talk a little bit about the difference in interest rate. So the rates were very recently like 8%, right?
Mhm.
So what is the difference between 8% and 7%? Because now, average is 7, right?
Right.
7.1 on conventional, 6.9 on FHA. So we're talking about $438 difference on a loan amount of 640. So if it's 640 loan amount, 8% rate, principal and interest is 46.96, and 7% rate is 42.58. That's $438 less in the payment per month, or $5,200 savings per year.
Yeah.
Definitely good time to start going back and looking for properties. The market is not as crazy right now, and with holidays and everything. So, and I'm sure once holidays are over, and if rates are keep on going down or staying even in this level, people are gonna go back and we're gonna start seeing again the multiple offers and
Yep.
price increases. So I think this is really good time to buy right now.
And that's
I
a really
agree.
good point, because we even have a listing that went under contract and coming soon. Was it like 10 days ago?
Yeah,
And
Tatiana, it was in coming soon for just one day. And I don't know, not everybody realizes this, but when a property is on coming soon, we can't show the property in that status. It went under contract in one day, sight unseen. The people didn't even look at it.
yeah, so the market is still kind of chaotic. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think that we're going into a buyer's market, and the fact is we're just not.
Yeah.
And like you just said, if they hang out and wait until next year, if the rates keep coming down, or if we just get out of the holiday season, it's going to become more chaos. So
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
I have a question. Is there a certain amount of interest rate that it has to be lower for someone to refinance? For example, I know they have to wait 6 months from when they got their loan, but is there a limit? Like, could they refinance for just 1%, or they have to run the numbers? Tell me, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, not all programs require you to wait for 6 months. They can actually refinance even sooner.
Okay.
But we need to run numbers for particular situation, for particular loan amount. to see what makes sense for them. Definitely when it's a higher dollar amount, even sometimes 0.5% makes sense to refinance. When it's lower loan amount, then you stretch it to maybe 1% because it's just not that big difference in the payments. So when we looking into refinancing, we're not just going to refinance you just because you want, right? We want to see that there is a benefit to you, and we analyze it by looking at what monthly savings you're going to get and how long it will take you to recoup the payment, the closing cost, because there is still a closing cost. It's not as much as when you're purchasing, but you still have sales taxes that you have to pay and title company fees. With Prosperity, for example, right now, when clients buy with me and then they refinance by the end of 2025, we waive our lender fee, the origination fee, but all other fees, they're still going to be there. So we have to look at how many months it will take them to break even, so to say, and then based on that, we need to see at least $100 improvement in the payment and 24 months recoup time. But it also depends on what clients are doing. So like sometimes people refinance from adjustable rate mortgage to 30-year fixed, so that's already a benefit, or from 30-year fixed to 15 years, so they're shortening the term. Or sometimes even if they did 15-year fixed and then they realize that this payment is too much for us, we want to go back to 30, and that's gonna be again a benefit. So there's some differences in benefits, but we do look at definitely that they need to be, if it's just 30-year to 30-year, the same type of loan, we just look at how much money they're saving and how long it takes them to.
Okay. Yeah, very good. That makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. So that is good news with the interest rates.
Yeah, that is really good
That's
news.
great. All right, just in time for the holidays. All right. Anything else going on interest rate wise?
No, that's it. Let's see what happens next week. I'll give you an update on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
I'm
good.
excited.
All right, well, I have a question. And I know you know about this question because you're going to have slides. But what kind of income can what kind of income is counted when you for a lender in order to get a mortgage? Because we get this, especially from first-time home buyers, they'll call and they'll say, hey, I just don't know if I'm able to qualify for this loan, or somebody that maybe isn't a first-time home buyer, they'll switch jobs and they're asking, can this, how basically how does this work?
One real world example. Okay, so in this scenario, let's say you've got a husband and wife, they're both going to be on the loan. They both have salaried jobs, but the wife wants to count her income. Let's say she has an Etsy shop and she's been selling
wine openers
for let's say 8 months, and she's making average like $1,000 a month. Can she count that income?
We cannot count that income because we have to see 2 years of history. First of all, she's probably self-employed, so we need to see 2 years history of being self-employed. But when we have 2 jobs, person has 2 jobs, we need to see history of them working those 2 jobs for 2 years. Just because working 2 jobs is not easy, we want to make sure that person is capable physically to work 2 jobs, and we need 2 years for us to be, okay,
prove they can
we believe you can do that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I do have slides. Sean was right. So there are a couple of different categories, I would say. So just income regular, we have a base salary. Typically ask to see 1 month of pay stub. So it's cookie cutter. You're making 100,000 a year. That's it. Easy.
Okay, wait, I gotta stop you. So somebody goes and gets a job and they have a base salary and they've been working at it for 2 months. They could qualify for a mortgage?
Sometimes.
Wow.
It depends on the program. we could actually use that income if they only have a job offer letter and they didn't even start.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's conventional finance, and there's some caveats to that, but in most cases, someone gets job offer and they're gonna start after they buy the house. It's acceptable.
okay,
Wow.
fantastic.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. So when it's hourly, we'll look at it a little bit differently, because hourly hours could fluctuate. Even if you're full-time, 40 hours, maybe sometimes you work 38, we need a year of
Okay.
that type of income to average. When somebody gets bonus or overtime, tip income, commission, we also need to have, depends on the program, from 1 to 2 years
Okay.
minimum.
So
Part
overtime is 1 to 2 years as well.
overtime from
Okay.
1 to 2 years. On conventional, you could be like 1 year. FHA definitely gonna be 2 years at least.
Okay. Okay. And I'm asking for clarification because our camera, the picture's right over what the overtime said.
Oh,
Just wanna
okay.
make sure
Yeah,
we
I
get that.
forgot about that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's the only one that was
You can
covered.
see
So the
most
rest
of
are
it,
good.
so-
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Overtime is 2
So
years.
yeah, so overtime 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
Commission, we need to see 2 years of that.
Okay.
Part-time also 1 to 2 years. Seasonal jobs, like someone maybe mows lawns in summertime, or doing landscaping, for example. We need to see 2 years history of that. Person self-employed, most cases we need 2 years, sometimes 1. I'm not gonna go in like details, but it all depends, right? And the last bullet point, to what Kelly you were asking about, that multiple jobs, we need to see 2 years working those 2 jobs. Doesn't have to be the same employer, actually. They could change employers, but we have to see 2 years of uninterrupted, they quit one company, they started right away with different one, that's fine, but we
Of
need
maintaining the 2 jobs.
maintaining
Okay.
the jobs.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's just regular income. So then we have some not alternative income, but the other type of incomes, like
Yeah.
for
Okay.
example, child support and alimony, right? So we can use that as long as it continues for 3 years. Somebody receives child support, child is 17, it's gonna stop at age 18, we cannot use that.
Okay.
Okay. So you don't need 3 years of history. You need to know they're going to receive it
It's
at
gonna
least for another
continue.
3 years.
Right.
Okay.
Depending on the program, we do need to see history of receipts. In some programs, it's 4 months, others is 6 months at least.
Okay. Okay.
But continuation is very important component for all categories.
Okay.
In reality, even there's regular jobs too. Pension, disability income, social security, that's one that's easy, we just get social security award letter. Foster care income, foreign income when someone works in foreign country, but they file that income on US taxes, we can use that. Rental income, definitely, we look at tax returns for that. Dividend income, trust, and survivor benefits. So those are other type of incomes, but and actually also for rental income, I forgot to mention, like if someone has accessory unit, they live in the house and they have additional house, some programs allow to use that income.
Okay. Do they have to have proven income for a certain amount of time, or have
Yeah,
least?
we would need to see tax returns for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay.
That was actually really, that was, I expected like just a quick, you need 2 years, but that was a great breakdown. I appreciate that.
Well, I think this is so important because there are so many people who don't realize the income they have would actually count, such as the child support and things like that. And then other people assume that there is the income they make as on a side gig would count, and it's like it has to qualify. They have to.
Yeah. Or they may make a choice, now, as we've seen, you have to have history. So they may go
Right.
get a job for 6 months at one job and then be like, I don't like it. And then go and do that 4 or 5 times. They've got 2 years of work history, but they've worked in all different professions.
Right.
That wouldn't necessarily count, would it? Because they're all over the place.
Well, we do need to see stability, and if they change in professions all the time, that of course that's a red flag. It will have to be analyzed deeply by underwriter, and it's going to be possibly their discretion to see. Also, they're going to look at, okay, so they change in jobs, but is it benefiting them? Maybe the income is increasing, or if income is going down, then well, we
What's
can
going on?
actually use that.
Okay.
I have a question. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind that you noticed with the pandemic, with layoffs? Did you notice a lot of people quitting salaried jobs and going and like trying something new?
What pandemics? I already forgot. Well, yes and no. I've seen a lot of we had some challenges right after 21, when people, in 2020 they had much lower income, especially those who were self-employed. So that was challenging, because unfortunately we still had to take an account that income was low. We wouldn't just say, okay, well, that's because of pandemic, so we're not gonna count it. So now it's kind of behind us. I don't know. I can't really think that people change jobs because of that. Yeah, nothing stood out. I don't know. Maybe because it's already 2023, almost 24. But I'm sure there were situations like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't change.
No. We changed right before.
We bought a house, actually.
Yeah. All right.
For some people, COVID was actually good. It's weird to say that,
we were
but
blessed
for
during
some
COVID.
it worked well. For others, unfortunately not.
For some, but
All right. Any other questions?
not from me.
All right.
I've missed you the last few weeks.
I miss you too, guys. I'm so glad that holidays are sort of over. Well, we have Christmas coming up, but I think we will still be shooting, right? And
we'll have a chaotic Christmas video because she's got all her family coming in town, so they'll all be running around in the background.
That's gonna be so much fun. My mom will probably try to join in. I'll cover her mouth.
That would be cool. I'm gonna wear my Santa hat.
You've got to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, got to do it.
Oh, I might get reindeer things.
Yes, antlers.
That would be fun. Reindeer things.
That's a good idea. Make your family run around. I like when somebody walks by that stairs. It's like very surreal.
Yeah. We should have that like as the background. Like we should AI it. I'm gonna figure out a program.
We should get all our cats all up there.
One time I saw cats. It was
All right. Well, okay. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
I'm available 24/7 at 571-245-3000.
All right.
And that's right, everybody. She is always available.
Yes, she is.
That's why we love Tatiana.
All right. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.